Craig. Hi, Craig. Now recording.
Every time I start a new recording with someone that I've never talked to before, I have to warn them because I've scared a few people with Craig. So
They're
I
like,
have to
what in the
just
world?
no.
Is that
Yeah,
Freddy Fazbender or whatever, Fazbear or whatever his name is?
so I'm just there like, right, I have to warn you, there's about to be a really creepy bear about to say that he's recording. I said, it's okay. It's quite
He's
amusing.
got some beady eyes and he's like staring right at me.
Oh,
Just
yeah. And
staring into me.
the worst case scenario is, he doesn't blink. So,
I know. That makes it way worse.
oh, yeah, definitely. I'm actually gonna pull up my my little notes here that I made, because I made some
I
notes.
was in the process of watching it Friday, but I got really tired that night, so I didn't finish it. And then I've been out of town since like 15 minutes ago. So
Nice.
I
Okay.
wasn't able to finish it. But I know what happened, so. But I was watching
Well,
I have the what is that called? Unrated version, extended version. Um,
okay.
but honestly, I think the theatrical version is better. Like, I don't think it really. There were some story things that it added where like things made more sense, but some of the like they had more jokes in there that probably didn't fall very well. So or land
Right.
where
Well,
they fell. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm ready to go when you are.
All right, I'm ready to go when you are.
All right.
Welcome to the Tiger Nexus Podcast, a place where you'll find interviews with content creators and geeks alike. Your host, Ty Tiger, has delved upon the Nexus and found interesting content creators and geeks of all fandoms. This podcast is connected to the Zero to Hero Network. And now we dive in with another episode!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tiger Nexus podcast. I'm your host, Ty Tiger, and welcome to our second installment to our little sub-series. This series is actually created by its co-host, and we've brought it over to here so we can carry it on, and I'm really glad we did. Welcome, Ben. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. Thank you for carrying on the legacy of dumpster diving.
Yes, so this is Movie Dumpster Dive, where me and Ben will be breaking down different movies. Some of them will be absolutely some of the worst films you ever heard of. Some of these films will be absolutely fantastic. We dive into all sorts of stuff. Today was Ben's choice of film. We are taking turns on movie choices, and he decided to go with Ghostbusters, the 2016 movie, the one where it's a full female-led movie. And now, quickly before we dive in, I had to rewatch this film. This is the second time I've watched it. And instead of watching it as a fan of Ghostbusters, I decided to look at it as a critic. Because I have Level 5, which is a YouTube channel of mine, and I do movie reviews. So I thought, you know what, I'll do a video after this podcast episode. I will be doing a Ghostbusters 2016 review on that channel. And I decided to write the script out, and I decided to tackle this as a critic. And honestly, I think it's changed my thoughts on the film in general. But before we dive into that, I want to ask you, Ben, because you quite like this film.
Yes.
What about this film appeals to you?
Well, I am also a Ghostbusters fan. The original Ghostbusters is my favorite movie of all time. I didn't have high hopes when I went to go see it, but when I watched it, I didn't try to see it as a sequel to Ghostbusters or even kind of a reboot. I'm like, okay, let's just see it for its entertainment value, and I was pleasantly entertained. And also, I took my daughter to go see it, and since, of course, she's a girl and she likes stuff that girls are in, it was also an avenue to get her interested in Ghostbusters, since the other Ghostbusters are all dudes, so she doesn't care or give a crap about all that. So she enjoyed it at the time. She's grown up since then, and she doesn't like the stuff that I like. So, and I think she does that on purpose to hurt my feelings. But I don't know. I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny, and for the most part, I thought it was funnier than the original Ghostbuster movie. No, it's not a better movie. It's not a better Ghostbuster movie. I did find that the comedy was better. But I also like the movie Bridesmaids. So, same director, Paul Feig or Feige, whatever, however you pronounce his name. Um, but I enjoyed it. Yeah.
You say that it's funny. The only time I sat there and thought, "Oh, for fuck's sake, can you please shut up and get on with the movie now?" is when the repetition of Chris Hemsworth's character, that he's dumb, and that's the joke, is he's dumb, and sometimes it was generally funny. Like like he's obviously stupid, and there is times where it did make me cackle, but there's just some joke, like the phone ringing constantly and he doesn't answer. I'm like, yes, okay, you've done this 4 times now in less than 20 minutes. It was funny the first time. It's no longer funny. Can you get on with the film, please? It's just like they overplayed his dumbness, the same
They
joke over and over again. That's my issue.
they did. However, I felt like, in my opinion, like I'm gonna preface this. It's probably gonna sound. Can you hear me? Am I in there? Sorry,
Yeah.
my computer started to um sleep for some reason while I'm on this call. So I just didn't want
Well,
to screw things
you
up.
are Ben with technical difficulties,
That's
so
true. That's
that's
my shit.
nothing fucking new.
That's why I kind of I didn't quit my podcast, but I haven't done it in a while because my last one was a good episode, and I forgot to record my guest. So I'm like, whoa. But anywho, but I thought he was the highlight of it. Now I'm again, like I was trying to say earlier before I interrupted myself. Sorry, I'm ADHD and squirrels. But a lot of times when they make remakes or whatnot and they try to shift it to a more female perspective, they tend to make all the male characters stupid or the bad guy or both. And so in this movie is no different, which is one reason why I didn't like the Birds of Prey movie, because it was basically. Anywho, but it worked for this movie, and I don't. And again, this is weird. Like, so nothing I'm gonna say in this interview is gonna make any sense, or in this podcast, because I don't care for any of the main characters in this movie, like the actresses. I don't find them funny in general. But however, I felt like for the most part it worked in this movie. I don't know why. I can't tell you why. It doesn't make sense. So,
I
but
wouldn't. Sorry, go on.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just say I wouldn't say I found any of the women funny, but I definitely found two of the characters very charming, like to be on screen and stuff. Like two of them were very entertaining to watch. I will say that.
Well, I found like some of the humor worked for me because it's kind of like dumb, stupid humor, and that's the kind of stuff that I like. But but I don't know. Outside of was Kate McKinnon, her character was my least favorite because I feel like she overplayed that role, like tried too hard, and I just couldn't find anything she did funny. But everybody else, I did. But so
Yeah, I. There was definitely scenes where, you know, I definitely feel like. Hang on, I actually have the characters' names up on screen now. 1 second.
I wish I did too.
S- okay, so there's Abby, Erin, Holtzman. Holtzman's great. I do find her funny. Not
Well, that's
funny
the
as in
one I don't find funny.
so no, I don't find her funny as in, oh my god, she's hilarious. I find
Yeah.
her, I guess the word is charming, because she's just different from the other three. She's a wackadoodle. She's the inventor. I love the scene where um I think it's a grenade they throw, or they're testing the equipment in the alleyway, and she's like, "Hey, this has got a kick to it." They throw it, it makes a massive fucking explosion or something. She's like, "Whoa, okay, maybe a bit too much of a kick to it." And I'm just like, "See, that's just charming to watch, man. Like, she's just cool." The where's her? I can't find her name. What the fourth character?
Patty?
The That's it. Yes, Patty. I felt she had no character to her. She's barely seen in the film. In the case of, she's the last one part of the team. It takes almost 40 minutes for her to actually be in a proper scene, and things like this. And it's just like, it's a shame because, the other three did get, obviously I know the main stories between Abby and Erin. I get that. That's the whole point of the film. But like, if you're gonna have four main characters, at least give each one of them a bit of time to shine. The only real thing she actually contributed was she's the woman who stands there and goes, "Oh yeah, fuck this shit," and she's the one who offers them a vehicle to drive.
She does have an understanding of like the real world and like what's going on in New York City, where they're more science. She's kind of
She's
the
more grounded.
outsider.
Yeah.
And she was used a lot more than Winston was in the original Ghostbusters. So there's
That's very
so,
true.
but and well, yeah, and she was kind of used for because she's the normie character. So it was, yeah.
What
Just
was your thoughts on
reactions.
the villain?
I kind of, so a lot of people think. Sorry, I'm prefacing everything because there's a story. There's anyway, worlds, but all the other Ghostbuster movies. I guess there was a second one. There's a person kind of involved in making it happen, but not as much as like driving and like is the main villain. So I thought it was more clever and more different because a lot of people think this is just a rehash of the first movie, which I don't agree with. But I liked his character. I like the actor that played him, like the way he just because he's a creepy. Not the actor's creepy. I don't know if he's creepy or not. He could be, but he just plays it good or well. If I want to use proper English. And but I don't know. I liked it. I liked how he kind of became the no ghost symbol at the end, or the ghost from the no ghost symbol, and that was the villain. I know it was kind of cheeky and corny the way that, but I enjoyed it.
Honestly, Rowan is the villain's name. He's
Yes.
actually he's the character that actually sold me the movie. Now, like I said, I went into this as a critic the second time around. The first time around I watched this, I didn't enjoy it. I prefer the first Ghostbusters. I haven't seen the newer Ghostbusters films yet, so like I don't know how they compare. But
Shame on
I'm
you need to revoke your Ghostbuster fandom card because
okay.
that's uncalled for and unnecessary.
I apologize.
Yeah,
So
you need to.
watching Rowan, watching this film as a whole, I actually understood his plan. And again, I watched this film when it first came out, and so that's a good what 8 years ago.
8 years ago, yeah, it's been.
Haven't watched it since, so I've forgotten the main plot point of the villain. So watching this again, when he's putting these devices in places, ghosts are turning up, the women are trying to figure out what's going on, and then they turn up at the base and they're ready to stop him, and he dies, and it's just like, oh, hang on a minute, he's dead, but you've still got like 40 minutes left of this movie. Oh, he's turned himself into a ghost. Okay, got you. And so, like, I'm now sat here wondering, well, hang on, how are you gonna go from making yourself into a ghost to finding out the girls finding out, and the way they find out is also genius. It turns out he's obsessed with a book that Erin Abby wrote. But not only that, he's scribbled in it, he's drawn in it, he's made notes in it, and that's how they figure out what he wants to do. He wants to become this big badass ghost. He knows that how to do it. He needed to die first, and to be honest, it's actually a very genius plan. It's a plan that makes sense to the scale of Ghostbusters. I know that it's corny, but to the level of Ghostbusters, it makes sense. And like you said, we haven't had a villain before who's directly a human. There's been human contacts within Ghostbusters, sure, but not like this. And like again, he takes over Kevin's body. Chris Hemsworth gets to be the baddie for a little while, which I actually found kind of funny. I did like kind of some of the jokes from there. He sits on the bike. Like, I wonder if this doofus knows how to ride a bike. He starts driving away. Well, he does. And it's just like, okay, that's kind of charming. I like that a lot. That's kind of funny. But yeah, the plan worked, and I really enjoyed the villain. Like you said, he's kind of creepy, yeah, but he's not creepy as in like, oh, I'm going to stalk you and cut your testicles off and eat them or anything. He's a loner. He's a bit of a weirdo in that sense, and it kind of worked with his character. What was your thoughts on the CGI? Because I'm curious, because it's ghosts and stuff. So
it's ghosts. It's CGI though. I don't think it was all CGI. I think that's just the way they looked. I think they did use a lot of practical stuff, but use CGI to kind of cover it to make it look ghostly, which made it look different than Ghostbusters. But it wasn't jarring for me. But at the same time, I know a lot of people just hate CG, and in my opinion, majority of the issues with CG is with the cinematography of the movie, and there's ways you can make CG look good with just the way you filter the movie. I saw a video on YouTube about that not too long ago, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. You can make CG better. But anywho, I thought it worked for it. It wasn't too overly stimulating, I guess you could say, where you're like, oh, that's CG. Of course you know it's CG, so I just go with the flow when it comes to that. It's not like Flash level bad CG. But it wasn't. It worked for me. It worked.
yeah, it's not too like you said jarring or anything. I think when it comes to like the CGI, one of my favorite scenes is actually the final act where you got all four of them. And they're like an army of ghosts, and like they all kind of gear up, and they just kick some serious ass. It's actually pretty fun to watching these four chicks kind of like use their different gadgets and gizmos, and you actually see the gadgets that we've seen them practice with. The grenade thing, the one girl gets like a gauntlet which also acts as a sucking machine, but she can punch ghosts with it. It's actually pretty cool. That actually looked pretty awesome. Kind of looks like some Iron Man would build. That was pretty sick. Their laser beams, the thing that Ghostbusters are known for, still looks like the original. They look like big backpacks. They look really chunky and clunky on their backs. It looked proper, but it worked with the CGI. The laser beams looked all colourful and pretty, and some of the ghosts were green, some of the ghosts were blue. There's a nice mixture of colours. The colours didn't they didn't look like someone just slapped it onto the screen. It looked like they were in the scene with the people as well. So yeah, it wasn't too shabby. I feel like the money went to the right places when it came to making the movie at least look like the women were actually stood in front of a ghost.
And if you think about it too, back then, like in the mid 2010s, 3D was kind of all the rage with movies. So these kind of special effects movies were also kind of made for the 3D space too.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's where a lot of the look of the CG here, kind of works. I used to actually, when the movie came out, and I had a 3D TV and 3D Blu-ray player and everything, and even the way they presented it on the Blu-ray, where whenever like stuff just kind of blasts out, it goes past and through the black bars on the top and bottom, and so to give you a little more 3D effect on there, which is actually kind of cool, and even when you watch it not on 3D, but so it. I don't know where I was going with that, but 3D.
See, you mentioned before the recording that you've seen the extended cut. I'm curious on, and you also said that it didn't do anything major. Extended cuts are usually help out a movie. Lord of the Rings, their extended cuts are just like adds to the film. It doesn't do anything wacky or weird. What does the
Except for
extended...
the Twin Towers, because the theatrical one is the most boring movie you'll ever see, but the extended version actually makes sense, and it works better on the extended than the than the theatrical. Um, there's more
Fair.
story in that. But anywho, that's Lord of the Rings, not Ghostbusters. So
What,
yeah, most of the extended was just like longer jokes, like some jokes that were in the theatrical, and they just like extended the joke where it was bigger or added jokes here and there. There was only one element technically um, of the extended that I can recall that really has much to do with the story, and that is Kevin, the Chris Hemsworth character, whenever he tries to tells Abby that he's joining the Ghostbusters, which kind of makes sense to later in the movie. You see him drive around saying he's a Ghostbuster. Like, why does he want to be a Ghostbuster? He doesn't even know who they are, and so it kind of adds context to that a little bit. It's not necessarily necessary for the movie, but you kind of see it before he comes in with his motorcycle and saying, "Hey, I'm a Ghostbuster." That's not just coming out of the blue. It's kind of set up there.
yeah, yeah. See, because like you said, it doesn't do much. It doesn't sound like it adds too much to the film.
Yeah.
Who
There's an
who
F
would
bomb
you?
too, so that I guess.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Um, gotta love it when a PG-13 film throws an F-bomb. Gotta love that. What would you say is your favorite character in this film?
Well, I think it's Kevin, just from his first interaction. I know he's stupid and everything. I've even done a TikTok where I used his the sound of the image or the interview, and I don't know. I just like him the most because of that.
I think that's where my favorite joke comes from. Because he sat there in front of the. Are you talking about the interview when he gets the job?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah. So he sat there in front of the girls, and it's my favorite joke of Kevin's because he sat there, and the girls like, where are the glass in your
yeah.
glasses?
Like
And
they
he's
kept
like, you
getting
can see.
scratched up, and you don't have to clean them anymore.
And then he takes off his glasses, like, see, I don't need to
Yep.
clean them anymore. And he puts them
Hmm.
back on, and the girl's like, and I actually found that funny. That made me laugh. I was like, okay, in a way that's so stupid, but he kind of has a point.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like
I don't know how well his eyesight is, but apparently it's not too bad. Um, but I
the
actually
funny
bought a
thing is,
pair of glasses from the Dollar Tree just to take the eyes of the glasses out to do that sound too.
oh wow, nice, well done for commitment.
They were only $1, so it's okay.
So one thing I did find really interesting about this film is that they brought back the Ghostbusters, um, in this movie as different characters,
Yep.
and I'm curious to find
All
out your
cameos.
thoughts on. Yeah, yeah. One of them plays more of a role
Yep.
than the other two. The other two are just cameos. But I'm curious on your thoughts on them using the older actors and stuff like that.
Well, one cameo kind of got me interested in a sequel, but I'll get to that later because if you don't watch the end credits, then you won't even know what the cameo is.
Oh yes, okay, right. Yeah,
But
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
yep. Well, of course, Bill Murray is going to be the biggest one because I don't think he would have
Yes.
done a cameo if it wasn't something more than just 5 second cameo like everybody else.
Yeah, he
Um,
plays Martin Heiss.
yes,
That's his character's name.
he's a skeptic, and
Yeah.
he doesn't believe that they can catch a ghost. But I don't understand why he went all the way to the Ghostbusters place just to tell them that he doesn't believe them.
Yeah,
But
that also made no sense to me. Why would you
but
just turn up?
yeah, I was like, if you don't believe them, if you're saying this on TV, then why are you giving them more of your energy? But I digress on that side. But so I guess his bigger role because the other ones, of course, um, Egon, he passed away, so he was just a
Yeah.
bust in the school. Um, and Dan Aykroyd just have the "I ain't afraid of no ghost" line. Um, and Ernie Hudson, he was Patty's uncle. He's the one that
Yeah.
owns the um, funeral home that has the hearses. And so yeah,
And
Bill Murray
then
has the biggest impact really on the story. The other ones are just cameos, but he had a kind of a role in.
yeah, I actually didn't realize how many characters actually had cameos because it's the three Ghostbuster blokes and then there's two women
Yes,
from old
Janine.
old yes
Yeah.
so I didn't click on one until I googled it. So obviously I knew the three Ghostbusters, obviously.
Hmm.
Obviously one is Martin Heist, he's the skeptic, one's a taxi driver and he's the guy who's like, I ain't scared of a ghost, get in the taxi or fuck off sort of character. And
Yeah.
then like you said, Patty's uncle. And then the end credit scene, which I automatically recognized her, I was like, oh my god, so that's how
Yeah.
you're gonna be brought into this film. She's Holtzman's the Holtzman is her
Mentor.
apprentice. Yeah, mentor, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I thought was genius. It's a shame that she's an end, like, well, I wouldn't say end credit scene. There's scenes that come up whilst the credits are
Hmm.
rolling. It's a shame that she's put there. That is the
Yeah.
sad part. But there's also another one, the
Yeah.
receptionist in the hotel.
Yeah. She starts with a "What do you want?" Which is
Yeah,
kind of her stick in Ghostbusters. So
I didn't
yeah,
even click that was her. Like I
yeah,
said, I wrote a review, so I wanted to make sure I got my facts right and everything. I wanted to make sure I got people's names correct, so I googled it, and it came up. It said that there's at least 5 cameos. Like, how am I counting 4? So I googled it again, and I was like, oh my god, I didn't even
yep,
click. That was her. So that was
yep,
actually quite a nice shock to me, actually, that they actually brought her into it too.
yep. Yeah, I'm still bummed that Rick Moranis still has not done cameo in one of these Ghostbuster movies. I thought he would be in this last one, but uh, no, no, he is not. I hope I don't ruin that for you for not. You haven't seen the Frozen Empire yet, but
So one of the things that I do like about this film and I do find rather charming is I do love how scared this is gonna sound really stupid to some people.
oh,
I really like how scared people are about ghosts in this film. In the very beginning, we see a guy kind of give like a tour to a person's house, like it's a big like tour estate thing, and he's showing his tour guide. He's talking about it, and he tells a story of a woman being locked in the basement by her parents, and she stayed there for years, and now she haunts the place. And when he's walked away and everyone follows him, you see that one of Rowan's devices on the table, so that kind of like leads up to something. But
yep,
he does see her, and he gets freaked out, and he screams and runs off, and then obviously the girls get called to the same place, and the two blokes outside is like, yeah, we're not going in there, you can go, but we're staying over here. They actually stay across the street, and I really appreciate that, like, not everyone's like, hey, it's ghosts, let's go hunt. They're all
yeah.
like, yeah, fuck this, I'm scared. It's cheesy, but I like it.
Well, it kind of got me from the get go when he's doing that tour, and I don't know why. It's funny to me, but whenever he's like, "This is the very spot that God, who's that? P.T. Barnum had the idea to enslave elephants,"
Yeah.
and I thought he died at the beginning because I'm like, well, right there, he's dead. There's no way he's getting out of it. But somehow he got out of it. He soiled himself, but he got out of it. Um, but um, but yeah.
Hey, whatever happened to Storytime with Cosplay Dude 637?
Dude, you don't know?
Clearly I don't know, or I wouldn't be asking.
It's moved to Tiger Tales on YouTube.
Tiger Tales? You mean that YouTube channel ran by Ty Tiger?
Yep, that's the one. Ty Tiger brought Storytime with Cosplay Dude 637 to his channel, and it's better than ever. There's even some new stories, too.
No way! I loved Storytime. I can't wait to check it out on Tiger Tales. Thanks for the heads up.
Catch all your favorite episodes of Storytime with Cosplay Dude 637 now on Tiger Tales on YouTube. Subscribe and don't miss out on any of the fun.
In a way, they also kind of play it off that the guy, because the tall guy, yeah, like you, honestly, I thought he was gonna die because he gets
Yeah.
thrown across the
I thought he
room
did,
and
yeah.
slammed into the walls. So like, how he survived that? This guy's a mutant or something. But anyway, when you're introduced to the guy who owns the building, I honestly thought he was gonna be the bad guy because it kind of plays it off that like he knows something,
yes. A
and
lot of
then you meet
times
Rowan.
the person in these kind of movies where they're like, I need your help, they end up being the reason for the stuff going on anyway.
Yeah, exactly my
Yeah,
point. So like,
yeah.
you know, I like I said, I didn't remember this film in 8 years, and I'm just like, is he the bad guy? I don't remember. And then Rowan's introduced. I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. And I love it Rowan's introduction as well because he talks to Patty, doesn't he? And he kind of says that like, oh yeah, the world's doomed. You know, we're all going to hell, blah blah blah. And he kind of like walks off, and he is just literally played off like he's a bit of a wacko. And then you see his little laboratory he's built, you know, in his janitor room, which I do like the CGI there where the ghosts are in the mirrors and you can see all their hands, but that looks kind of creepy. I will admit that does look kind of cool.
Well, so there was a scene in the extended version that you saw right before he goes into there that I guess it doesn't add any context or anything, so it really doesn't do anything. But he is seeing on a tenant there at the hotel who has something on her back, like she thinks it's like a growth growing or something, and he looks at it, she turns around and it's a ghost growing out of her neck.
Oh
And
no, that yeah, no, I saw that scene.
oh, was
I've
that in there
seen
too?
yeah,
I thought that was an extended.
so the same scene, or it might not been the same doorway, but one of the doorways is leaking green stuff, and she says
Yes.
that she touches it,
Oh,
doesn't it?
maybe I'm
and we had,
just misremembering. My bad.
but yeah, the fact that he lies to her doesn't he? He's like, oh yeah, you know, it's nothing, it's fine. But yeah, you can
I'll
see
get
like the
some ointment.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'll get you something for it, sort of thing. And then that's where like, yeah, it's kind of revealed that, oh yeah, by the way, he's important. Rowan's not just a wackadoodle.
Which you kind of thought whenever he started talking to Patty and talking about the second cataclysm and all this stuff, and yeah, like there's something about this dude.
Yeah,
We're coming back to him.
I think the only like thing that like I was a bit like not confused at, but a bit like okay, is the very beginning with Erin. Because we see her, she's like about to get tenure, or she could get tenure. She's up for tenure, and she walks into the room. And like a guy comes up and talks to her, Jack or something he's called, and like
Harold.
she's all and she's all like flabbergasted talking to another woman, because like she's like high and mighty in, you know, the world that she's in, and like she tries to give Jack a kiss on the cheek, and he kind of like completely like blindsides her, and it gets all awkward, and it's just like, is this all necessary? Like, I'm a bit confused on why you made her do all this just to have it so she's going to lose tenure anyway. Like, either way, like, I'm just confused on what that was. I did like the scene she got fired, though. She's walking through the box and around, and she's like, oh yeah, I'm just taking my stuff outside. Like a normal person. Like, you know, I walking around the area just because, you know, airing it out or something. You know, I like that scene.
I'm
that
just
scene was
walking
funny.
through with a box. It's okay. Nothing to see
Yeah,
here.
it's nothing. It's nothing abnormal at all.
Yeah.
I did like that, but like I just didn't understand why they had to push the whole, oh, Erin's awkward in her job. You know, she's not gonna. I don't understand why they had to prolong it so long. I guess.
I don't know. I'm wondering if you did end up watching the extended version, because I felt like some of that at the beginning was not in the theatrical version. Or maybe I'm just still misremembering. But I think they just wanted, I don't know, just extend the movie out a little bit longer because they didn't have much of a story, and they wanted you to know that this is the main character, and they wanted you to kind of to kind of get the comedy from the get go, like you know where this is gonna go. Um, but I don't know. I couldn't tell you that.
Yeah, like I understand they have to extend it,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's a bit odd. So according to Google,
Yeah.
the extended additional scenes are Phil Hudson, Erin's boyfriend is seen, a rival of Erin and a residential professor
Okay.
pops up, Mrs. Potter, an
It's just
elderly. Oh, so that is the part of the extended version then.
yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. Like I didn't think that the guy when you say try to kiss him on the cheek, I'm like I don't think that was in theatrical because she didn't have like any kind of boyfriend in there at the beginning, but in the extended they
Hey,
did.
I found a way to stream it, so maybe the one I streamed was just ended
Okay,
up being the extended version. Who
possibly.
knew?
Yeah.
That it didn't tell me it was. Apparently, it adds an extra 17 minutes to the
Yeah.
movie.
Well, that one scene probably added about 3 or 4 minutes, and then there's like an extended ghost dance scene at the end where they make everybody dance. So that's a lot. That's a much smaller part in the theatrical version, but like they dance for a little bit more in
Hmm.
the extended.
See, I do at 17 minutes is quite shocking actually. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. I mean, okay, so going off the fact that there's a huge possibility I watched the extended cut, who knew? Yeah, okay. I mean, I do like the scene where you see the old woman talking to Rowan and like the things going on, like
Mhm.
her, and it's like, you know, it kind of builds up when just the fact that Rowan goes, oh, it's nothing, you know, I'll get you some ointment for it, it's all good. So like he
Yeah.
blows her off, that kind of builds up the fact that like, oh yeah, by the way, this guy's gonna be trouble. You know, it kind of
Mhm.
builds him up a bit more. So I didn't mind that scene. The whole Erin thing, I don't see the point of, I guess. But
Maybe they just didn't
welcome.
like cut too quickly into them becoming Ghostbusters, and they had to try to find some ways to kind of introduce the characters, and then she's kind of like the main character that kind of drives the whole story. So they just wanted just to put more emphasis on that because you don't meet anybody else, and you meet everybody through her, except for Rowan, but it just kind of goes
Yeah.
from there.
Well, there's ooh, okay. So according to my notes here, there is 27 minutes into the movie until we meet Patty. So the first 27 minutes of the film kind of gives us some form of like something about Rowan, and it's mostly about obviously Erin and Abby. So 27 minutes in and when we first get our Patty scene, and it's almost 50 something minutes until we see like them kind of hassle their first ghost for the first time. It actually be like Ghostbuster esque. So there's a lot of not story building per se, but like build up to them being
Mhm.
Ghostbusters at least.
Which the
Which
original Ghostbusters kind of did though too. Like they don't really
yeah,
become
no, I was
Ghostbusters.
about to say
Yeah,
the same thing. Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. It's like that kind of follows suit. That's just movies in general, though. You know,
yeah.
the movies kind of not major superhero films as such anymore, but a lot of the time, you know, going from like 2000 onward, if there was a title involved, you know, a superhero or something on those lines, it's usually a good 30 minutes to 40 minutes until you're going to see them at least do their first major scene of some kind.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing with like origin stories. Like, yeah, comic books don't do as much nowadays. They're just the hero already, and you don't get to see
Yeah.
how they become the hero. Though I kind of feel like I'd prefer the origin stories over the other ones, just because there's the stories are more fleshed out, and a lot of times it feels like they don't know what to do when they're already a hero, and so there's lots of all over the place. But yeah, because they've been doing that for years. I think every most comic book or any kind of sci-fi origin story, you don't really get anything going on till like the first hour or two, unless it's the what's that new movies out? Dune, then you don't get anything for like 20,000 hours before stuff happens.
So three scenes that I wanted to bring up. They're quite small, but anyway, the first off is the title screen for the beginning of the film. I thought that was very lacking. It's just the word Ghostbuster. There's no like logo or anything. It just appears in the middle of a shot of the city. I thought that was very lame. I actually have it written down where I was like, and here we have our Ghostbusters title screen pop up, all in capitals, in brackets, lame. It's exactly what I wrote down.
Well, that's every movie though. Because even the first movie is basically just Ghostbusters, and I don't think the go no go sign was in the O even on that. And it was actually split up because Ghostbusters is one word. In the original movie, they split Ghost and then Busters,
Yeah.
top and bottom. And I think Ghostbusters 2 kind of does the same thing. You have to go to the newer ones, the Frozen Empire. Well, even Frozen Empire is kind of just. I think that's just a Ghostbuster thing to just kind of pop it up. You already know you're watching Ghostbusters, so there you go. It's Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
What I find kind of weird is it's kind of similar to like X-Men 2, X2, where it's called X-Men 2, X-Men United, but in the actual movie, like there's no subtitle to it. So this is actually called Ghostbusters Answer the Call, but in the
Yes.
movie, there at the I think in the credits it does. The
Yeah,
end
it does.
credits,
Yeah.
but like in the opening credits, it doesn't have the subtitle "Answer the Call."
Yeah, so a lot of people just call it Ghostbusters 2016 because
Yeah.
that's the one that came out in 2016. But yeah, it's officially called Ghost, which is odd because you would think they would at least have the full name kind of on screen. Because for example, you have Ghostbusters Frozen City. It's kind of even if you Google it, Wikipedia's even listed as Ghostbusters in brackets the 2016 film.
Yeah, yeah.
So
The only place that I see where they actually call it that is Ghostbusters News, like on YouTube. Differentiate, he'll call it "Answer the Call" just so he doesn't have to say 2016 and everything. So that's the only time I've heard anybody actually call it that, because I don't think they even called it that when the movie came out. Directors, writers, actors, whatever. It was always just Ghostbusters.
So another scene I wanted to mention was a joke I found kind of funny when they go and investigate the mansion for the first time, and obviously this is the first time they could possibly run into a ghost or something. They go talk to the tour guide, and they mention the fact that a guy called Jack got hold of them.
Yeah.
And he's like, but Jack died 15
Yeah.
years ago. Oh no, sorry, Ed.
Ed
His name
Mulgrave
is
died.
Ed. And he's
Yeah.
like, Ed died 15 years ago. And the girls got completely freaked out. They lose their, and they're like, this is Ed Jr. He turns up. I was like, that's actually funny. I like the fact that for a moment they thought that there was a ghost.
Like,
No, it's Ed Jr., guys. It's fine. Calm down.
I also love when Ed did go to talk to Erin while she was getting ready in the Great Hall or Big Hall or whatever it's called, and she's like, "Where'd you get this?" Well, I got it. It's on Amazon. It's on. He's like, "It's even on books on tape. Only I can read."
Yeah.
I don't.
He plays the old role quite well. Like,
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. And then one other thing I quite liked was how the logo got put on the car, how Holtzman came up with the
Yeah.
logo. I quite liked how it was someone graffitiing it. I was like, yeah, I saw a ghost graffitis it on the wall
Does it
and
look
then
like this?
walks off.
What are you doing? I'm so sorry.
And then Holtzman looks at it and is like, hey, not bad idea for a logo. And I was like, hey, that's actually a very good idea to come up with an idea for a logo.
Yeah,
I did
because
like
in
that.
the original movie, it was just that's the logo, and in the second movie, which is kind of weird, that the logo was the ghost putting two up, which doesn't make sense in a real world situation to be, unless it's like Peace Ghost and no ghosting the Peace Ghost. I don't know, but yeah. So there's the origin of the thing. There is kind of a flub there because he used the same spray can to spray the black and the red.
Yeah,
You don't
that's
see
true.
him you don't see him switching. The only thing you do is like they do like some CG little red little squirts in the air. So like there's a red mist when it goes back to them before you actually see the logo, so you can see that he's using red. But for both, he's using the same can.
Yes, yeah, that's very true. He doesn't. They didn't. They decided not to give him attention and make him swap cans.
Yeah, it's like at least do something because me, who's kind of focusing on what he's drawing and how he's drawing it, which is not how the shapes are. Then he doesn't even switch cans and gives her one can and runs off with no can. So like,
yeah, that's very true. Yeah, that's very true. He only has one can, which either he has magical powers or he's a ghost himself. That's the only two things.
maybe in this world they have this technology where you can have a spray can and like. Like those pins back in the day where you can be a green, blue, red pin. You have the little switches.
Yeah, yep.
It's just that, but with paint sprays somehow.
So when it comes to Ghostbusters Answer the Call, as it's actually titled, what do you think is the biggest downfall of this movie, and then its biggest success? Whether it's a scene, a character, either way.
Downfall. Well, I don't know. See, I kind of look at it and the lens of just entertainment, and so it entertained me. And it gave me something that I could take my daughter to see that she would be at least halfway interested in. But watching it, I think sometimes the chemistry wasn't exactly there with all the characters. I know a lot of people hate that like every character is a comedy relief, but I think sometimes the comedy wasn't there as much. Again, I still feel like there's funnier moments in this than the original Ghostbusters. More moments that I laughed at least, or smirked at. But there may have been just a little bit too much, and I think if they would have toned it down and not try to be like Deadpool and make it a laugh a minute type of thing, it would have been funnier. They would have came off funnier.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's why I like the action scene so much, because it was like a breath of fresh air. Because the scene where I mentioned where the four girls are fighting like the army of ghosts, that's just really cool. That's really badass scene. Another scene I quite like as well is when the Rowan's now a ghost, and it's just before he takes over Kevin, he takes over Abby. And she steps out of the bathroom and she goes ham on like the other two, and she's kicking the crap into them. And I was like, actually, this is quite entertaining. I'm not gonna lie, like it's actually quite cool. And she almost like drops Patty out of drops them both out of a window and stuff. And it's like, okay, that is pretty. And like, Patty just bitch smacks her across the face, and that gets I was like, that's fun. That's good though. It's quite amusing, But yeah,
I think that was the funny that was the funniest scene there too. Whenever
I just bitch smacks. Yeah, that's great. I like that. I like that scene a lot.
But I did like how Slimer found himself a girlfriend.
Yes, yep, that's very true. Yeah, he's got
little
himself
Slimer girl with the
Miss
hair and
Slime.
everything. Miss Slimer, whatever her name is.
It's very true. I did like the fact they nicked the car. I found that quite amusing.
Yeah, he jacked the car and took her on a date. It's so romantic. Till they go to their deaths in the little portal thing. But
and so, what do you think is the biggest highlight of this film?
Highlight. So, I guess it's again weird. There's a lot of too much comedy in on one hand, but at the same time, my highlight is that it was a little bit funnier than the normal Ghostbusters. It wasn't as much. The humor wasn't as dry, and it worked for me despite the fact that I don't find any of these people funny for the most part. I think Kristen Wiig probably would be the funniest of them, which is probably why they had her be the kind of the main character. But it worked for me, and I was able to enjoy it. somehow.
Yeah, I feel like Ghostbusters 2016, it definitely falls on that grey line of you're either going to find this film funny, stupid but funny, or you're
Yeah.
going to find this film, not good because there's a lot of jokes in it. Because like Deadpool is funny, and if you know the character, you know he's going to be funny.
Mhm.
Where Ghostbusters, like you said, this film has more funnier moments in it. And it's about four people hunting ghosts, but it's more of it added more comedy to it, to the whole idea. But yeah, this film definitely falls on the grey line of you're going to find it funny or you're going to find it stupid.
Mhm.
It depends on your preference.
Yeah, my thing is, if you try to look at this through, I want this to be Ghostbusters 1 and 2, and I want it to feel like that. You're not gonna get there, which you're not gonna get with any reboot. It's kind of a take it or leave it type of thing. I was skeptical, but then I enjoyed it, and I saw it in theaters like 3 or 4 times. But then again, that's what I do if I enjoy a movie. I'll see it multiple times, or I used to. Don't do it as much because I had to drive 35 minutes to do that. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was entertaining. It was funny at most points. It was still a Ghostbusters movie to me, and I was kind of bummed. Like I understand whether that they kind of went back to the drawing board and decided to do a sequel to the original Ghostbusters because of the outcry for this movie. But I felt like the outcry was a little too harsh, not because people should like it. I don't think, you can like or don't like something. But I kind of felt like sometimes fandom dooms things before they even get a chance to do it, and so they already create their own reviews in their head before they see it, or they don't see it at all, and you have a lot of fans that. But I guess if they're not going to see it, you're doing a disservice to your fans and making a movie the fans want. So it's kind of a half on one side, half on the other. But I think the fans kind of did this movie dirtier than they should have, because most of the people that did probably never even saw the movie.
Yeah, that actually kind of fell into my next question, funny enough. But yeah, you've got a point. I'd definitely agree on the fact that fandoms can do one or two things. They can either have a voice so strong where people in the background are like, hey, let's do something here. Like, for example, Marvel have given us a chance to see Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, again, on screen, which is fantastic. For both those actors to have a chance to play their roles, which is great. The cameos have been really good in Marvel. But then again, they also hype things so much, like we get sequels that aren't needed that ruin franchises, or they bring back a movie that's been long gone for a while and they make a sequel that was just needed, waste of money, and then everyone hates it, and all sorts of stuff. But that kind of leads into my next question is, do you think that they should have made a sequel to Ghostbusters Answer the Call, or Ghostbusters 2016, however you want to title it?
I honestly I do, but I do understand that it probably wasn't going to make any money, and that's why they didn't. And I kind of credit Sony a little bit more than Lucasfilm does, or even Marvel does with some of their stuff, because um, they kind of course corrected, and then they got the actual original Ghostbuster team involved in making the sequel, because the Ghostbusters Afterlife, the director is the son of the director from the first two Ghostbuster movies, and so he's been around Ghostbusters since he was a little kid. He was on the set of the original Ghostbusters, so there was more heart put into making it. Whereas with like Star Wars, if something doesn't work out, their course correction is to just cancel it and then move to something that continues to double down on how they want to do things. So it kind of doesn't do anything at all for the fandom. So But I would have liked to see a sequel to this movie. If they could have just done a lower budget sequel, um, and still do Afterlife, that would have been cool. I would have seen it and hoped I enjoyed it and liked it. Um, I felt like they could have done something with it, but they didn't. But they didn't. But we got Afterlife, which, even though I love that movie, it does make some carnal sins, in my opinion, for these legacy sequels, like with Force Awakens. It does a lot of stuff that movie does. However, it makes sense for the movie. Um, but I love that movie. Um, However, Frozen Empire, I like that movie. It took a few watches to actually like it. I believe the 2016 Ghostbusters movie is better than that. So the newest Ghostbuster movie, in my opinion, is my least favorite. I guess you could say the worst of the group. I enjoy all of them. I like all of them, but it's just, yeah. So this one kind of falls in at number 4 of the 5 for me.
So I was actually, I was actually going to ask you to rank the Ghostbusters films. Funny enough,
Oh, you got 1, 2, 2006, no, 2, 1, 2, Afterlife, 2016, and then Frozen Empire.
fair enough. I've already said I haven't watched the two new ones yet. I
You
kind of
need to.
see with that, and I'm slowly going through them. But when films get sequels that haven't been around in such a long time, these legacy sequels, I don't know. I guess I have a fear of watching them. I still haven't watched Matrix 4. I still haven't watched
Oh, you're
Ghostbusters
not missing anything.
Afterlife.
That thing was
I
not good.
know, I know. I've heard things. Matrix is one of my favorite trilogies of all time. I'm
Well, I've
glad
known a
I
lot of
haven't watched
Matrix
4.
fans that love it, but to me, it made no sense at all.
Fair.
But I'm not also a Matrix fan, so like they don't do anything.
With Ghostbusters 2016, first time I watched it, I didn't like it. Going into it a second time, I'm looking at it for like kind of like criticizing it, and yeah, it's stupid in the comedy sometimes. None of the characters have like a major like hold on me. I did like the villain. I love the villain's plot. It makes sense. It's a good idea for a villain. It's not over the top or overly done in the sense of like, why he's a bad guy. They even managed to tie him to two of the main characters in a small way, which was really cool. I feel like if you're gonna watch this film, going off what you said, dude, you said this. If you're watching this film as a huge fan of number 1 and 2, and you're expecting it to be like that, you're gonna be disappointed. Because it's not like that.
No.
But going at this film, I haven't seen Ghostbusters 1 and 2 in a very long time either. I haven't watched the new ones. I don't have anything to go off here. And I watched it for the second time in 8 years. Yeah, it was okay. I wouldn't say I was bored. I wouldn't say I was extremely entertained, but I wouldn't say I was bored. If you had to rate this film out of 10, 10 being like one of the best films you've ever watched, 1 being, you had to turn it off because it's turn it off or pull your eyes out, where would you rate this film?
Okay. So the way I rate movies, because if I just say I give it a 6 out of 10, there's a lot of movies that are better that are also 6 out of 10 better movies per se. But to me, it's about what is it trying to do? Is it trying to entertain me, or is it trying to be thought provoking and all that? If it's thought provoking and it's a good movie, but like or decent movie, but the things just don't make sense, I might give it a lower grade or here or there. But I enjoyed it. Because I enjoyed it, I'll give it a 6. Like, it's not a great movie, but it's a fun movie, and I enjoyed it. I loved it.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree. I don't think this has any stand on some of my favorite films. I don't think I could come I don't think it's in comparison to my favorite films, but I definitely have seen films worse than this. There are films that have more budget, have more famous actors, have whatever that completely flopped harder than this film. I would like to have a sequel, but like you said, Afterlife and Frozen City kind of
Empire.
it's Frozen Empire. I keep saying Frozen City for some weird reason. Frozen Empire kind of did better of what this was trying to do, so that's fair. I didn't even know that the guy directing it was also the kid to the first guy, so that's pretty cool.
Yep.
I like that. That's awesome. So yeah, I have to kind of say 6 out of 10 as well. I wasn't completely bored. Like I said, there were some jokes where I was just like, yeah, right, you've done this joke 10 times now. Can you just continue? But the action was cool. I did really enjoy the last act with the fight scenes and them beating up the ghosts and how they got rid of Rowan was really cool and the villain was entertaining. So yeah, it's not oh my god, you have to see this film. You haven't lived until you see this film.
Yeah.
But it's not if you watch this film, you're gonna have to put your eyeballs and wash them with bleach or something. It's neither of them. So yeah, 6 out of 10 sounds like a good mark, I think. Yeah.
But you do need to see Afterlife.
Yeah,
That's something you have to do.
I'm slowly I've got a list of TV shows and films that I need to watch, and I'm slowly getting through them. Mark's been waiting for me to watch a series or two so we can talk about it on the podcast as well. So, but yeah, there you go. We broke down Ghostbusters, Answer the Call, or Ghostbusters 2016, as 90% of people will know it by. We gave it a 6 out of 10. I don't think that's too bad. And I also learned a few things, so that's pretty cool. Turns out I watched the extended cut. Who knew? Turns out how I was streaming it had the extended cut. I'd say watch the extended cut just solely for the additional Rowan scene, because it does kind of play on him a bit better, I think. The other scenes I ain't too bothered about, but the scene where he's talking to the old woman and he kind of blows her off, and that kind of builds him up to be not only more creepy, but it also kind of builds him up as the bad guy. Does definitely benefit him as the villain character, preferably. But yeah, so that's been Movie Dumps Dive once again. I apologize to everyone listening and to Ben for the long time of between Movie Dumps Dive episodes. There's been a lot of hackle getting guests on and rescheduling people and all sorts of jazz. I'm working up to interviewing someone who's pretty big in the Power Ranger YouTube fan fiction scene that's coming out in the next couple of weeks. So that's been a lot of my attention is talking to him, and there's 8 hours difference between us, so that's going to be a bit of a hackle to get recorded. And me and Ben have discussed about 2025, because we're getting close to the end of the year now. We're gonna have another Movie Dumps Dive before the Christmas break, and then when we come back in 2025, we've decided that we're gonna get a couple more of these done. These aren't gonna be any longer than an hour and a half, so maybe me and Ben can do if Ben's got time, maybe we can get 2, and we can record 2 at once, or something. Just so we can make sure that we get them out pretty more regularly, which is kind of the plan. But yeah, thank you, Ben, for coming on once again, and of course doing Movie Dumps Dive with me. And of course, Ghostbusters was your choice. What made you pick this film? I'm curious.
Well, you wanted a list of movies that I like that a lot of people hate, and this is one of the top of hate on the hate list of people. So, just like with Spider-Man 3, the last one, which is still the best Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie. Yeah, so I'm kind of looking forward to see what movie you pick for the next one.
Well, I've got 2 options. One of them is a part of a franchise, or we could do a Christmas movie, because obviously the next episode would be around about the no, not Die Hard. I've actually
maybe we should argue that Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
But yeah, so I don't. Yeah, I've got a couple of days to think about it, but I need to think about when it comes out, depending on whether it'll be a Christmas episode or not. But yeah, anyway, go check out Ben on TikTok. He's funny on TikTok. Are you actually uploading on TikTok, or have you taken a bit of a
Okay,
break from that too?
so I been meaning to do a review on the part 2 of the Power Rangers and Godzilla comics and then do a giveaway for them. I read them, I just haven't done the actual video review and giveaway. So I'm on there sporadically. My goal is to be better, and I always say I'm going to do it. But instead of saying I'm going to do it, I'm just going to say my goal is to be better and more
Fair
consistent.
enough.
So that way I don't get my hopes and maybe other people's hopes. I don't know if people are actually looking forward to my crap. But yeah, that is something that is going to happen. Hopefully this week. The week of what day is this recording? The 20th of October. So we'll see. We would know by the time this is aired on if I did it or not.
Yeah, so basically, people listening, basically what you have to do is go check out Ben's TikTok, find out if he did the review on the Power Rangers Godzilla comic, right? And then hassle him on his comment section if he hasn't done it yet. That's what you need to do.
That is your homework, and if I did, then you owe me $5.
Wait, are you saying that to me or everybody?
No, if anybody that does their homework,
Oh, I
if
see.
they
Gotcha.
see that I did do it, they owe me $5. If they see that I didn't do it, then I have to do it. Sounds fair.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Of course, you're listening on a podcast platform. Don't forget to give us a follow, rating, and all that stuff. If you're listening on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, of course, I've been your host, Ty. This is Ben. We are the people who movie Dumpster Dive. Ben is the creator, but we brought it over here because it's why not? That is the reason I tell people. Just why not?
Well, you're better at getting stuff organized and done, so if there's anything else you want to take to get done, let's do that too.
Fair enough. Well, thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to roar of passion, everybody. Love you all, and we shall see you guys in the next one.
Thank you.
This podcast is a production of the Three Ranger Bros Studios, in association with Zio to Hero, the podcast.